What's up, guys? Hey, it's Clint Coons here, and in this video, we're going to talk about how to make your real estate ownership invisible. All right, let's get started. So here's the thing. When you're owning real estate, how do we make sure we get our name off the public record? Now, I cut a video last year regarding Patrice Coolers, a Black Lives Matter co-founder who had bought real estate and created all these problems. They found out she was buying it for cash, and that's developed into something totally different now. But the point is that I went through on what she should have done different. So I wanted to do in this video is show each and every one of you how you can avoid making the same mistakes this individual did when they bought or when she bought her residential real estate. How do we do that? Well, there's two ways that we use, actually three different ways we use to own title to property to ensure that your ownership remains hidden from public record. Now, ideally, it's always going to be best if you can buy for cash directly in an entity, or if you're not buying for cash, that the lender will finance your acquisition in the name of an entity. If they're not willing to do that, you're always going to be in the chain of title, but I'm going to give you a couple of hints here about what to do there. So ideally, one way to do this is to set up a limited liability company. Let's say you set up an LLC right here. Now, in setting up that LLC, what you have to be aware of is what information is collected by the Secretary of State. That is, how much information is going to be made publicly available. So beyond just the name of the LLC, if they want to know who is the registered, of course they're going to know who is the registered agent, they may want to know who is the manager or member, and they want to know who is the organizer of this LLC. So obviously, when the state asks for this information, your name cannot appear as a registered agent. You can't be listed as a member or manager, and you definitely cannot file it yourself, because if you do, then they're going to be able to trace this company back to you. And that's the first mistake people typically make in setting up their LLCs, is they have their name on the articles that get filed, so it comes back to them. Now, you're thinking, well, Clint, if I'm creating this LLC and I'm setting it up in Washington State, how am I going to accomplish this if I'm the one that's going to own the LLC that's going to take title to the piece of property? Well, first off, you have to appreciate the fact that you can't be the owner of this LLC. It just won't work. What you need to do is create a different entity down here to be the owner. And what I typically like to use in my structures is a Wyoming LLC. So I'll set up a Wyoming LLC right here. Now that pen's dead. So we'll set up a Wyoming LLC right here, like that. And we'll make it the member of this Washington Limited Liability Company. So the Washington LLC is going to be owned 100% by the Wyoming LLC. Now, the Wyoming LLC, again, you can't set this up. If you try to set it up, then you're going to get tagged to it. If you get tagged here, they're going to know you own this. So setting up this right structure is crucial to own real estate anonymously. So again, you set this up. Wyoming only wants to know the name of the LLC, the registered agent, and they want to know the organizer. They don't ask for who are the members or managers of this company. So you can be a manager up here, and you can be a member down here of your LLC, and that information isn't going to be disclosed anywhere. So this is the first entity we need to create. We get this entity set up right, and again, you're not here, you're not setting this up. We set up hundreds of these every month for our clients to protect their identity. So this gets set up, number one. Then you're going to come up here and you're going to set up your Washington LLC. This is number two. And when you have someone organize it for you, that you keep your name off of here, when it comes to listing who is the member of this LLC, we're going to list the Wyoming LLC's name. So it points down here. So on this filing, it has an RA, it has the organizer, and it says who is the member. It's going to say Blue Box LLC. So if somebody looks here, points them to here, and then it goes nowhere. They don't know who's involved. So that's for step number one. If you want to use limited liability companies to own real estate anonymously, you have to set them up the right way. Now, so this would be the perfect example where you could buy for cash. So you could come in here and you can buy this LLC, you could buy for cash in the name of that limited liability company, and you close in the name of the LLC and no one knows that you're involved with it. Now, here's something else you need to keep in mind. When you do this strategy, buying for cash, where you can get hung up is on the tax statements. All right, the tax statements for this property. Where are you going to send those? Do not give an address that is associated back to you. That will kill this anonymity. One of the things that we provide our clients is we actually give them an address in Nevada for their tax statements. It doesn't matter where you live or where the property is located. You can send them anywhere you want. So the statements come into our Nevada address and then we forward them on to our clients so that somebody couldn't search our clients just through the tax statements alone. Everything points back to us. So buying it for cash, tax statement address is really important, and you're going to have anonymity here for this type of structure. Now, another way you could do it as well if you're buying for cash, if you wanted to set this up, is just buy in a Wyoming LLC to begin with. You could buy in the name of a Wyoming LLC, even if the property's in Washington. As long as you haven't started renting it out yet, you could keep it in Wyoming, even though the property isn't located in Wyoming, have anonymity. I've done this strategy myself several times with my acquisitions. Until I know I'm going to do some rehab work and get it all set up and ready to go, I'll just buy in a Wyoming LLC. Takes me, have it set up in a couple hours, ready to go, give it over to title, tell them this is where I'm going to close. In fact, I did this strategy this week. Well, depending on when the video is released, could be several weeks ago, for a property I bought in Washington. So now when I go to rent the property, I'll take this entity and I'll foreign file it in Washington. But by that time, I will have already brought in my Wyoming LLC to be the member. So again, when you foreign file it, you still have to list this stuff with the state of Washington, but I'll have my Wyoming LLC protecting Wyoming LLC number 2 up here. So that's another little strategy you can think about using, especially if you have a time crunch on your property. You don't have time to set up this structure. We get a lot of clients that'll call us up, hey, I need an entity for closing in 4 days. Well, it's not going to happen to get all this done. Just too many pieces. We'll just set you up a Wyoming LLC, close on that, and then we'll either move the LLC to the state where the property is located through domestication, or we'll just do like I just showed you, foreign file it. Now, what happens if you're not buying for cash, right, in this type of structure? What are we going to do then? Well, in that scenario, we're still going to keep the structure in place, but since you're not buying for cash, you're going to buy in your own name. You're going to be in the chain of title here because you're forced to close in your own name. So now you have to deed the property to this limited liability company. So you'll deed it from your name into this LLC that has this level of anonymity on it. So you're going to take your name off of title and put it in the LLC. Now, this is where people screw up time and time again when they try to set the structure up. They will deed the property in and they'll use a quit claim deed. Bad move. When you use a quit claim deed to transfer title from your name into an LLC, I know it's your property. I know you're still involved. Why? Because a quit claim deed transfers bare legal title. You make no warranties. So if I give you a piece of property that has a bunch of problems with it and title defects, you have no recourse against me. You cannot get financing with quit claim deeds. Banks won't lend you money because you can't get a title policy to cover it. They want to make sure that they have clear title to that property if they're going to loan money against it. So I know whenever I see a quit claim deed that people are setting up their own structures, probably doing the deeds on their own, and that they're still involved in this structure right here. Because that's the only time somebody that bought a piece of property would accept this deed. I mean, no one that's buying a piece of property would ever accept this deed. I would never take a quit claim deed from a seller of a piece of property. So quit claim deeds mean that you're still involved. You always want to use a warranty deed. So whenever you deed the property in, if you're buying your own name and you're transferring it, always use a warranty deed. So LLC, it's going to be a dual structure for anonymity purposes. Now, another strategy you can use is to use a land trust as a title holding vehicle. So you can set up a land trust right here and you can take title this way. Now, I like this strategy a lot for people who are going to buy at auction. This is a freaking killer strategy for buying at auction because you don't need to have, you can create land trusts right here and we just fill them out while we're sitting there bidding on a piece of property. And if we win, great, we got the trust ready to take title. But if you're not buying at auction, you have a piece of property, here's another option for you as far as owning that. With the land trust, of course, you're going to be the beneficiaries. I have lots of videos on land trust. You're the bennies. Now, when you take title in a trust, you take title in the name of a trustee. So you have to have a trustee listed here that's going to go on title because the trust document itself, it's not recorded anywhere. No one knows what the terms are. So if you're listed as the beneficiary, Somebody just can't look at your trust and say, oh, I see Clint's right down there as a beneficiary, so this is his trust. They don't see that. So what you want to do is you have to pick a trustee to serve here that's not related to you. They can't see through that to get to you. So what are your options? You can use a nominee trustee. All right, so a nominee trustee is someone like me. I don't know how many thousands upon thousands of trusts that my name shows up on. Every week, literally, I receive calls from investors asking me about properties that they think I own because they're held in land trusts that I'm listed as a trustee on. And I'm not, they're my clients' properties, but they don't know that because when they look at title, it says Clint Coons, trustee of the 475 Trust. And so that's all they see. So that's one way to do it. And then what your nominee will do after the title's transferred in, the nominee resigns, and in the trust document it says the clients are the successor trustees of this trust. So then you step in and no one knows about this. So that's one way. Another way to do it is to use a Wyoming LLC as your trustee. Remember what I was talking about with Wyoming to hold the LLCs for anonymity purposes? Here's a scenario where you would set up a second LLC, not the same one I showed you before. You'd have a second LLC up here, Wyoming LLC. Since they can't see through this to you, you'll make it the trustee of your trust. Now, when you transfer title into this land trust, it'll go in, it'll state, Blue Box LLC, a Wyoming limited liability company. That's key. You got to put that wordage in there so people know it's a Wyoming LLC. A Wyoming LLC as trustee of the 456 Trust. Now, if someone looks at title, they don't see your name, they see the LLC, which doesn't relate back to you, and the trust name. And so now we're talking about holding property anonymously this way. Because you want to cut off the ties. And everything I told you earlier about the property address, the tax statements, you got to use another address for those tax statements. They can't come to you personally or any address associated with you because that will screw up this deal. So another derivation of this is to use a Wyoming statutory trust. Typically I use those if we're dealing with investors in California and they want to avoid the $800 franchise tax on transferring real estate. You set it up the exact same way, but instead of using a land trust, we're using what's called a WST. So those are the two main strategies you can utilize to hold real estate anonymously. Land trust or a Wyoming LLC holding state-specific LLCs, all pointing back to it. Guys, if you liked the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you would like to set up a strategy session with someone in our firm, we have an opportunity for you to do that. Just go into the show notes. There's a link there. You click on the link. It'll bring you to a page to get all that set up. It's completely free to help you look at putting together the right structures for your real estate investing. Take care.